Hey, what is up guys? It's Brendan here, and today we're going to be comparing a QuickBooks Self-Employed versus QuickBooks Online, which is the best QuickBooks subscription for you in your small business. Whether you're a sole proprietor, LLC, S-Corp, we're going to be breaking all that down here in this video, and really what is the best solution for you in your small business. Now, personally, I am not a tax accountant or CPA or really professional bookkeeper, but I just want to give this video to all of the people who are just the average Joe looking to do their own taxes and just get a better view of their overall financial picture in their business through proper bookkeeping and accounting records. Now, it does depend on, of course, what your personal preferences are as to maybe which software solution makes the most sense. I get that QuickBooks has a lot of different software options. You're getting marketed, hey, which is the best? Now, QuickBooks, of course, is the most popular accounting and bookkeeping software, so it definitely makes sense to consider them when you're taking a look at all the different software options that are out there. Now, if you do want to go with QuickBooks, if you do end up deciding to go with QuickBooks in general, you can go ahead and check out that first link down below in the description. That will take you right over to QuickBooks if you are interested in getting signed up with them. Now, let's go ahead and get into the comparison of, again, comparing QuickBooks Self-Employed and QuickBooks Online. Now, both softwares are really great for people looking to do their own accounting and their own bookkeeping in their business, but they are completely different softwares and really serve totally different purposes as to what you want to get out of your bookkeeping and accounting software. So that's what we're going to be diving into: the feature sets, comparisons, and really, what is best, again, for the average person just looking to get their accounting and bookkeeping done, especially when it comes tax time, so that you have everything already broken out and you don't have to go through all of the headaches of trying to go back the whole prior year and figuring out what were your transactions. So of course, QuickBooks Self-Employed. Starting with QuickBooks Self-Employed, essentially it is primarily marketed towards people who are maybe freelancers, gig workers, sole proprietors, separating business transactions and personal transactions. That's the main crux of what QuickBooks Self-Employed is created and marketed for, is for those types of business owners, self-employed people, right? If you're maybe doing Uber or Lyft, rideshare, or maybe you're a freelancer on Upwork, that is really what QuickBooks Self-Employed is designed for and created for, is for those sole proprietors, people who are having those just wanting to separate business and personal transactions so that come tax time, it's a lot easier and you just can easily put in your expenses and make sure you maximize your deductions on your Schedule C in your tax form. So taking a look more specifically at QuickBooks Self-Employed and the feature sets, again, we will be getting into the pricing, pros and cons comparisons, and everything like that as well when comparing the two different subscriptions and options that Intuit QuickBooks offers. So again, with Self-Employed, really the main thing is separating business and personal transactions. Now, in addition to that, of course, they do have a wide variety of other features that is included with QuickBooks Self-Employed. One thing also to mention is they also have tracking mileage. They have sorting expenses. Again, you can import your expenses directly from your bank account and effortlessly sort business and personal. This is one thing, especially with importing expenses directly from your bank account, that a lot of people, you can sort of get by with a spreadsheet. And a lot of people I know on YouTube, and comparing QuickBooks Self-Employed to maybe just a glorified spreadsheet, the thing with spreadsheets is you're not automatically importing those expenses. It's a lot more of a manual process. So if you're okay with spending a little bit of money and you want to save all that time of manually doing your expense tracking or even income tracking, then it still can definitely make sense to go with a software option like QuickBooks Self-Employed to help make things a little bit more automatic and not make it so manual on you as well. Just as a quick comparison, comparing like if you were to try and do things maybe in a Google Sheet or Microsoft Excel file, you can still do that. It is definitely the cheaper way to do that, but it's a lot more manual and it's not as automatic. So that's something just to consider there with that. If you have a lot more transactions, that's really where like QuickBooks and QuickBooks Self-Employed and sorting the expenses can help a lot. Just more transactions, more, things you need to sort in your expenses, as you can see here, and organize things, or even sorting your income as well. So in terms of QuickBooks Self-Employed, and that's really more just a general bookkeeping and accounting software, using a software in general versus just trying to stick to a Google Sheet or an Excel file. Those are best maybe if you don't have as many transactions. If maybe you only get a few transactions a year, but if you're pretty active and you're getting a lot of income and expenses, that's where really the accounting software can make sense. Again, if you're maybe making that jump out of the sheet, or and out of the spreadsheets and into a software like QuickBooks, or even more specifically QuickBooks Self-Employed in this case, just to give that context there. So you can also organize your receipts. So you can snap photos of your receipts, and it helps you just to categorize your expenses as well. They'll match and categorize expenses for you. Again, I recommend, going through and making sure that those expenses are categorized to what your business is and what makes sense. And then you also can run reports. So they do have built-in reports within QuickBooks Self-Employed. It is a little bit more limited compared to QuickBooks Online, which we'll be getting to that in just a moment here. So they do have some basic reporting, but it's not the same. You can estimate your taxes as well. They will do the math and automatically remind you of what you owe each quarter and when it's all due. Now, you can either opt to pay quarterly taxes, or you can opt to just pay the penalty and pay once a year come April during regular tax season. That's sort of up to you. Again, that's, leave that up to your CPA and tax professionals, depending on what might be the best situation for you in your tax situation. But generally, the IRS wants you to pay, in full and on time, essentially. So they help you do that in terms of estimating to pay quarterly. Then you also can file taxes directly with their TurboTax bundle, and you can instantly transfer your financial data. This is one thing that QuickBooks Self-Employed definitely has a leg up on compared to QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is a little bit more manual in terms of tax season. It is not directly integrated into its TurboTax. So if you do want the direct integration, then you do need to go with QuickBooks Self-Employed if you want that direct integration with TurboTax. That's something to keep in mind. It's something that's maybe not as promoted, but it's something that I personally, have seen, and is something that could be a selling point to you with QuickBooks Self-Employed if that's something that you care about. If you're fine with just manually logging things like copying and pasting out of QuickBooks Online, it just comes down to which is better for you in the reporting, and we'll get into that in a little bit in terms of more detailed comparisons. But that is one thing that QuickBooks Self-Employed has over QuickBooks Online is the direct integration with TurboTax and instantly transferring your financial data when it comes to especially categorizing those expenses and importing your expenses so that you can automatically get those deductions right there within the software. So that is something to consider if you do want that. And they also have a bundle, which we'll get into in a little bit, in terms of the pricing plans. So again, QuickBooks Self-Employed is primarily built for, again, independent contractors and freelancers. It's not necessarily as scalable for small business owners that maybe want to add payroll in the future or adding other employees in the future. It's really built for people that's just a one-man band. It's just a one-man show, and you're running the operations. Again, coming to running the operations, you have to keep track of your finances. So that's what it's designed for. Now, of course, this pricing, again, I have to make this pricing disclaimer in pretty much every single video. This pricing is accurate as of the time of making this video. Be sure to check out QuickBooks website, especially, pricing is always subject to change. But generally, I would say that the QuickBooks Online is probably always going to be a little bit more expensive than QuickBooks Self-Employed, generally, even as prices increase. I don't foresee that changing. But in general, QuickBooks Self-Employed is a little bit cheaper, but honestly, not even that much nowadays. QuickBooks Self-Employed starts at $20 after their intro promo bonus. So it is only $10 a month starting out right now with save 50% for 3 months. Again, that is limited time only. So depending on when you're watching this video, you might not see that offer. But that's only for 3 months, and then you get the $20 a month rate currently, again, as the time of making this video. Whereas QuickBooks Online, if we just compare the pricing, the simple start starts at $30. Again, we'll be getting into the features of QuickBooks Online in just a moment, but that is the pricing difference there. Just to give you that context, it is only $10 a month more for Simple Start. But if you're trying to go with the cheapest option, QuickBooks Self-Employed is still the cheaper overall option. Now, we'll get into the feature comparisons in the feature highlights as well. Now, like I said before, QuickBooks Self-Employed does have a tax bundle because it does have the direct integration with Intuit's TurboTax Self-Employed. So if you do want to save a bit of money and so that you're not having to also then pay for TurboTax separately, you can lump that in with your subscription here of QuickBooks Self-Employed with their Intuit's TurboTax Self-Employed, and that can save you a little bit of money overall because you're lumping them together. It just depends on when you actually go to file your taxes, because it still might be cheaper just to pay for TurboTax separately. But if you just want to lump it all in your monthly subscription, it could still be beneficial to do the bundle. Now, they also have their live tax bundle. I personally have never used the live tax feature, but if you want actual CPAs that you can talk to, then they have that, available there as well, and they can do a CPA review for you. If you are interested in that, they also offer that bundle there. These are not the tax bundles. You don't get that here within QuickBooks Online, just as a quick point of comparison. They don't have the tax bundles built into QuickBooks Online. Now, again, in terms of other features as well, just showing you sort of what QuickBooks Self-Employed looks like, it's a lot more basic. It's a basic version, and if you do want to, migrate in the future, just as a, big point of comparison, it's going to take you a bit more time if you ever want to upgrade beyond QuickBooks Self-Employed. It's a bit of a data import because it's technically a separate software from regular QuickBooks Online. These are totally different softwares. So if you want to eventually migrate and upgrade in the future, it is a bit of a process to import your data, and depending on your situation, you might be sort of starting from scratch. I know they've made it a lot easier now to import QuickBooks Self-Employed into QuickBooks Online, but it is something worth considering that it's not just like check a button and boom, you have all these upgraded features if you want to upgrade later on. It's a bit more of a migration process, and it is just something worth keeping in mind. You can do it, but it is something worth keeping in mind. So again, QuickBooks Self-Employed really is a bit more of a stripped down version, really built for those sole proprietors. So now let's go ahead and get into QuickBooks Online and taking a look at what QuickBooks Online offers and maybe which is best for you. So as you can see here, just even they're marketing it here on the Self-Employed page, is if you want to do more. Really, QuickBooks Online is built with a lot more, tracking of income and expense reporting, a lot more business overview breakdowns, a lot more graphs, a lot more charts, a lot more data points in their reporting features that you can really dive into, which makes it just a lot more of a full suite accounting software. One other thing worth mentioning as well, something worth keeping in mind. Now, this really does not matter for most average people watching this video, but if you are looking for full accounting features, QuickBooks Self-Employed is only a single entry accounting software. That means that it is not a double entry accounting software. You also do not have access to a balance sheet on QuickBooks Self-Employed. Now, all of that lingo, mumbo jumbo, whatnot, that doesn't matter for the most average people. They don't care about that. But I get that if you are maybe a CP, you have a little bit of a bookkeeping background, maybe accounting background, and you're trying to compare them, then, QuickBooks Self-Employed is not really a full suite accounting software. It's more just a basic bookkeeping software, which honestly is just fine for most people. But if you do want the double entry accounting, then you will need to go to QuickBooks Online. Now, in terms of double entry accounting and getting an actual balance sheet, they have those features in QuickBooks Online. Now, most people, and honestly, even myself, you can still do single entry accounting, which is a lot easier, a lot simpler to do. And just to explain that difference there, it's essentially just when you have a transaction incoming, you're not accounting for it on the banking side of thing with the balance sheet. Again, if you're an accountant and you're a professional bookkeeper, you'll be more aware of those differences and maybe which you prefer. It really just comes down to personal preference. You can ultimately do either one. It just depends on what you're looking for in your software. It is just something worth keeping in mind that is sometimes a deal breaker for a lot of people, is if you do want double entry, you have to go with QuickBooks Online versus QuickBooks Self-Employed is only single entry. Again, you can still do single entry in QuickBooks Online as well. Now, in terms of other features with QuickBooks Online, there's a lot more reporting, a lot more dashboards, and just a lot more flexibility and customization when it comes to your data in the software. QuickBooks Online has a lot more features in general compared to QuickBooks Self-Employed, where it's a bit more of a more basic, more bare bones version. And the other nice thing with QuickBooks Online is that if you do want to eventually upgrade, it's just as simple as clicking a button and you can get those extra features. If you ever plan on doing payroll as well, you can easily add that in to QuickBooks Online. Again, if you ever plan on hiring employees and things like that, QuickBooks Online is the better option purely for that. Now, if you don't care about that, but if you want the better reporting, better data management, and being able to splice your data better, then QuickBooks Online still is a better option for those people who are data nerds and really want to break down things in your accounting software and just have a lot more automation features as well. That's really where QuickBooks Online shines compared to QuickBooks Self-Employed, which again is a bit more of a bare bones, more basic version for the average person who just needs to, if you're an independent contractor or freelancer, and you just need to figure out what your taxes are going to be as a self-employed individual, where your taxes are not being taken out of your W-2 paycheck anymore because you are 1099. That's really what QuickBooks Self-Employed is built for. Now, if you're maybe a little bit more advanced, if you're even planning on going beyond a sole proprietorship and you plan to maybe in the future become, and this is again for tax purposes, if you want to be an S Corp in the future, you would need QuickBooks Online to do the full, double entry accounting, maybe taking advantage of tracking your balance sheet, seeing what your owner's draw is, all those kind of more advanced things. You can do that here within QuickBooks Online. Again, you don't have to, it's just an option for you. Whereas self-employed does not really have those type of features. Now, other aspects of QuickBooks Online, again, you can still just use QuickBooks Online as a sole proprietor if you want the extra data and analytics and reporting features. Again, that's personally what I like out of QuickBooks Online. I personally do use Simple Start myself, and that's what I find to be the best for me, and it's not that much more expensive really at $30 a month versus the $20 a month for QuickBooks Self-Employed. Again, it does depend on what you want in terms of, like I said, the specific features as well. Now, QuickBooks Online, taking a look at those extra features. Now, both do have the ability to do your invoicing and taking track of your income and expenses, all the basic essentials. You do still get that with both softwares. You also have, they also now have a banking feature, which is available. QuickBooks Money is a totally separate feature that you can use with either one. Because there's no subscription or starting fees within QuickBooks Money. That's more of like, hey, if you don't necessarily need accounting and bookkeeping just yet, then you could just do that with Money because they offer you the banking payments, with no subscription or fees because they're just capturing transaction fees off of the invoicing. If you just need like basic invoicing and billing software, then QuickBooks Money could be the option there. But again, if you're into the accounting side of things, then QuickBooks Online really does have just a lot more reporting features, cash flow features, things that, QuickBooks Self-Employed just purely does not have, at all. If you do need to maybe link an e-commerce store or something like that, like a Shopify store, you can connect that sales channel here within QuickBooks Online as well. You can manage contractors, you can set up quote estimates as well. Just a bit more in terms of what you can see in terms of your reporting and bookkeeping automation as well, just a lot more than what you would get within QuickBooks Self-Employed. If you want the more detailed, again, reporting and analytics in a more detailed fashion, then I would still say QuickBooks Online might be better for you in that situation. That's why I personally go with the QuickBooks Simple Start. And the nice thing is, if you ever wanted those extra features like bill management, more sales channels, more users, time as well, you can upgrade to Essentials or even Plus. Plus is better. Maybe if you're a small business and you need a lot more of the, project profitability, I could see that making sense if you're in construction and you're trying to see what all your labor costs are going to be. Maybe if you need to track the equipment, usage, or if you need to track like, hey, how much is this pallet of wood going to be, or how much is this pallet of tile or landscaping going to be, then project profitability could be, a big thing for you. Again, if you are a small business, if you have any kind of contractors, employees, or you plan to grow to that, then QuickBooks Online makes sense. But if you don't really need that, you don't ever plan to grow to that, QuickBooks Self-Employed makes more sense for you. Again, really built for solopreneurs. That's where QuickBooks Self-Employed takes into account if you're just looking to estimate your taxes. Personally, I like the more detailed reporting because I am a data nerd. Really like diving into that. And you can splice your profit and loss reports, see, how things are going in your business, just a lot more. Within QuickBooks Online, you do just get a lot more detailed analytics and reporting. So again, guys, I hope you found this comparison video helpful, just explaining, some of my own personal experience within the two softwares and just giving you a general overview of, maybe which is best for different types of people, and really the biggest differences between the two different softwares. I highly recommend you can go ahead and try them out, see which one you like, and talk to their sales team as well. They can help you out sort of with deciding that difference there. But hopefully you found this video helpful. Again, comparing QuickBooks Self-Employed versus QuickBooks Online really does depend on your business. And again, hopefully maybe you got a nugget out of this video that helped you maybe lean towards one or the other. I get it can be difficult to decide, especially now considering the pricing is somewhat similar. Still can be a little bit cheaper to go with self-employed over online, but online just, you do get a lot more features in terms of the analytics, reporting, and ability to grow and scale if you do plan to go that route, or even if you don't. If you just like the extra reporting like me, that's why personally, I've decided to go with, QuickBooks Online and the Simple Start plan for myself and my small business. It just depends on what you need and what you find useful out of a bookkeeping and accounting software. Again, it really does depend on your business as to which might be best for you. If you found this video helpful, if you want to sign up with QuickBooks, you can go and check out that first link down below in the description. But again, guys, if you found this comparison helpful of comparing QuickBooks Self-Employed versus QuickBooks Online, then be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Anyway, guys, that is all for today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.